We're going to go ahead and start. Obviously, we are here to talk about Teen Bible Camp. I'm just going to do some quick introductions and then pass the mic over to Becca, and we'll get started with that. But thank you all for coming and listening to our story. But Teen Bible Camp is something that's very near and dear to all of our hearts, and we've done a lot of really amazing things, seen a lot of amazing things, and we just wanted to take this time to kind of go over a little bit of that. But introductions first. I'm Heather, in case you didn't know me. This is Amy Jo, Becca, and Ben. We have a lot more to our team than this, but a lot of those people actually don't even live in North Carolina, so we'll probably touch on that a little bit more later, but as it is.
Yeah, so a little history of Teen Bible Camp, just to give context behind the presentation. So back in 2014, Pastor Johnson, Denise, teamed up with a couple that was stationed in Fairbanks, and they started a teen camp to bring kids from other villages to Fairbanks to kind of have a week-long camp. They actually did it at the couple who lived in Fairbanks' house. And it started off with 10 teens and has slowly grown. And then back in 2016, we actually moved from their house, which we outgrew, to Camp Bingle, which is about an hour outside of Fairbanks. And so Teen Camp used to be affiliated with Lutheran Indian Ministries, but just because of change in directions, we are now associated with Alaska Mission for Christ. And through our connection with Alaska Mission for Christ, we're able to kind of get a team of volunteers from across the country. We have people from North Dakota, Texas, Iowa, Colorado, so many different places to come together for one goal. And so it's a quick timeline up there, but it was definitely a passion project that Denise, Pastor, Rosemary, and David kind of put together just based off of going into villages and doing the Bible schools that we also do here, and kind of seeing that the teens age out of Bible school, but there needs to be something else to help continue their relationship with God. And so kind of started off as that passion project and has continued to grow today. So Amy Jo.
Yeah. So you guys can see up on the screens, there is a map of Alaska. You can also see the list of villages or cities on the side. These are all the different locations from where our teens have come from all over in Alaska to attend Teen Bible Camp. So if you're counting, that is potentially up to 16 different villages. So it's a very wide spread of the whole state of Alaska. A part of that, too, is also several different cultural groups involved as well, which is a really cool part of Teen Camp because they love to bring their culture to Teen Camp, and you guys will see that a little bit later down the slideshow when we go over our talent show. But another really important part, and Becca mentioned this just a second ago, is a lot of our teens come from the villages that our church also does Bible school in. And a lot of that has to do with them attending Bible school, and then when they become between 13 and 18 years old, they get to have this opportunity as well. And so a lot of our teens do come from those same villages, which is Arctic Village, Veneti, and Deering. Now, if you guys look for the red star kind of more in the central part of Alaska, that's the marker for Fairbanks. So Teen Camp specifically is about an hour drive away from Fairbanks at a place called Salcha. And we have a really nice lake that the camp that we use, it's called Bingle Memorial Camp. There's a really nice lake there called Lake Harding that our teens love to enjoy. And you also will hear about that a lot later too. But this is just a really good visual just to see from all the different locations our teens do come from for this really, really cool experience.
Okay, so we're going to go to the next slide and do quick facts. So camp, as Becca kind of mentioned earlier, started out pretty small. And, sorry. What did you do? Okay. So anyway, camp started out pretty small with like 10, roughly around 10 campers or something along those lines. We have had up to, 45 campers, 50 campers that one year. It was a rather large amount, and we were grateful to have all of them there, and it was a wonderful experience. But we realized that at that level, we were not the most effective. So we have dialed it back a little bit and have found our sweet spot to be around 30 campers. So we do our best every year to welcome between 25 to 30 campers, and that's always the goal that we aim for. These right here in the middle, these are our previous years as far as our camp themes. So Bent Not Broken, which actually Becca's wearing that shirt right now. And then we had God Wants You, Be a Light, Take Heart, We Are the One by Faith, Blessed. And then this year our theme is Limitless. Kind of within all of these themes, our main goal is to make our themes something that the teens can relate to, something that's going to really resonate with them, and have long-lasting impacts when, we're going through our Bible studies and all of those parts of camp. We want to make sure that our campers are getting the most out of it. And let's see. Yeah, kind of within that, one of our volunteers that comes with us, her name is Pat, and we'll probably touch on this again later anyway, but a big part of what she does is help us really hone those themes, and she comes up, or the last few years has been responsible for coming up with our Bible studies and whatnot. So she's just been a really wise and a great source of counsel for trying to figure out the best way to reach these individuals, because she also has a great deal of experience working with the same demographic that we're talking about. Within that, though, teen camp is a bit more costly than normal camps to go to, because majority of our teens are flown into the property, or flown into Fairbanks, and then we drive an hour to the property. So to kind of talk about what costs look like, we have averaged that for each individual teen, it's about $1,000, probably would be more if we're being honest, but about $1,000, and that adds up really quickly, but that covers everything from travel, food, we provide toiletries for our kids, and we get them in there for the week. They have a great time, and there is a small $25 fee when they submit their applications, but they end up getting that back. That's more or less just to make sure that they know that, we're holding your spot for you, you're coming, this is your piece of the commitment. And then they get that back throughout the week with canteen and whatnot. So anyway, those are just some camper costs and things along those lines. Our volunteers, as far as when they're coming, everything, they fund themselves or through their church, however that operates. But we do have a wide spread, and we talk about those fundraising processes all throughout the year. I know that we had one crew who, over Valentine's Day, they did a luncheon, and they had a great success within that. I know last year we did a bake sale, and just things like that throughout the year that help us raise money, not just for ourselves, but also for our campers. So anyway, we will probably touch more on donations later. But
They gave me the fun slides because I'm new. So last year was my first year at teen camp, and so I was a lifeguard.
MVP.
Yeah, the kids, like Amy said, we have a great lake, and they love to take advantage of that. So the weather is absolutely gorgeous when it's sunny out, perfect temperature, and the kids, they don't care about temperature of the water, even though for me from North Carolina, I'm like, I don't want to be in the water unless it's 85 degrees. But anyway, so a lot of normal camp activities like you'd expect, group games to help them get to know each other. We have a great, we have a volleyball net down by the lake too. We have canoes, and we have a little paddleboard that they love to play on. So lots of activities down by the camp that we do. And then one of my favorite things that we do are prayer partners. So each of the counselors or staff members, they'll normally take 2 or 3 kids as their prayer partners, and every night after dinner, before we do devotions, take your prayer partners aside, and it gives a really good opportunity for the kids to talk about their faith and anything that they have going on back home that they would like to pray for, in more of like an intimate setting with someone that they can trust. And I think it's a really great experience because a lot of times at camp, these kids are in big groups, and it can be hard to sort of individualize the message to themselves, but when you get them alone with 1 or 2 other people, they can really think about how their experience is affecting them, and so they get they get this really cool experience of, the normal camp activities, all of the fun that they can do. I mean, they're always begging to go down to the lake or do anything fun like that. Even when it's raining, they want to go have fun. But we really take opportunities to get them thinking about why they're at teen camp and what they can take home from it. And I think Prayer Partners is a really big part of that. We also do a lot of other little activities like the horseback riding. I think, is that Noodle on the horse, or who is on the horse? Is Soki? Sodi's on the horse. So they do. We did a field trip to one of the local horse farms. They also have other animals there. I think like rabbits and goats. Cool things. I don't know. The kids really enjoy it. They get to ride the horses around. So lots of cool things. We also do team building exercises. The counselors, I think Ryan led those last year. It's really fun to see the kids work through these exercises and build skills that they can take back to their communities. And I know Grandma Sandra, our cook, she does cooking class, so there's always something going on for the kids to have a good time.
We made pretzels.
Yeah, pretzels was the food last year, and she was talking about something for this year that I think is exciting. I can't remember, but it sounded delicious.
Yeah, fudge.
Yeah, fudge, homemade fudge for the kids this year. So we'll see how that goes.
I need to be on the rotation with her.
Yeah.
So last year our theme was blessed, which we focused a lot around the Beatitudes found in Matthew. And kind of going back to the origin of this theme, we kind of inspired it by Pastor Johnson's last sermon here. It was called Blessed. It had nothing to do with the Beatitudes, but that word just really stuck with me. And then I think a couple Sundays later, the reading for that Sunday were the Beatitudes. So it's kind of funny like how themes come up and like really inspire behind teen camp. And kind of like Heather said earlier, we have a devotion leader, Pat, who kind of comes up with these ideas of what we should talk about for the week, especially based around the Beatitudes. And so we'll break out into family groups of around, I think there are 4 family groups, around like 7, 8 people in each family group, mixture of like campers and staff, and you really get to dive deep into the Bible and kind of understand what all that means. And we try to embrace the theme during the week. We have t-shirts, and Pat always comes up with like a little fun reminder of like how to incorporate that in our lives. But yep, last year's theme was blessed. This year it's limitless. We're actually meeting with Pat this week to go over what we want to talk about and how we want to make sure we're incorporating the kids and what they go through into that theme as well.
Where's is she at St. Peter's?
Pat is actually from Texas. She helps with Concordia University in Houston. What?
The Zoom meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like you're going personally.
No, everything's Zoom. We love Zoom for teen camp, so.
Take a road trip, Becca?
Not right now. I'm good right now.
So one of my favorite parts of teen camp in recent years is what we call the PCNS group. So that stands for something.
Past camper, now staff.
Yes, past camper, now staff. So these are the teens, and actually now they're in their early 20s, that they themselves started at teen camp as campers, all of them 12 years old when they started. And then they went through their whole years of teen camp, so from ages 12 to 18. And then after that time, they decided that they wanted to step up and become a leadership role with the staff. So after they aged out and graduated from teen camp, then they became staff members and are such a huge part of our staff crew now. It's just so cool to see, because like we've known these kids since they were 12. And yeah, and it's just so cool to see them grow into such amazing young adults and each set into their own like roles at teen camp, because everyone has different strengths. And I think that's so that's a huge part of the PCNS crew too, is they all have different strengths and they help out in their own ways. So to introduce the 3 PCNS that we had last summer, we have Isaiah Wheel. He is originally from Arctic Village, currently lives in Fairbanks now, but he started coming to teen camp in 2015 when he was 12 years old.
He's been been there longer than any of us.
The really cool thing about Isaiah is he, as both camper and staff member, but he has been a part of teen camp longer than any other person in the whole history of teen camp. So more than Becca, me, Heather, anybody. So he's got a really cool title in that. Now our next two are Katie and Kent. They are both originally from Kayana, so one of those small villages more on the west part of Alaska. And they both started in 2016, which is also the year that Becca and I started to volunteer in teen camp. And they were both 12 years old at that time. So all three PCNS have been such a huge role in our teen camp process. And you guys might notice in the middle picture with Katie, you'll see that she is standing at a City of Conover sign. So the other super cool part about these teens in particular is that they are lifelong friendships with all of us up here. And Katie, since she's become an adult, she has, for the past 3 years, made an annual trip to North Carolina for several weeks to come visit us where we live. And she's been here at St. John's too, attending church as well. So I think that really speaks to these connections we grow with these teens, and especially with our fellow staff members now. And it's just so cool to see their leadership skills and how much they provide for teen camp, because there's been so many times at teen camp where I've thought like, oh wow, we couldn't have done this without them. So they're such a key part. Is that you, Becca? Okay.
And I know PCNS doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but we couldn't come up with a better name. It just kind of stuck. Okay, so baptisms and blessings. So every year we, throughout the week we discuss what baptisms are, and we explain it to the teens and say, all right, this is what this means as far as what we believe. And if you would like, at the end of the week, we will have the opportunity for you to be baptized if you so feel called. And Pastor Carlson, who, Becca, if you'll point him out, he's there in the blue with the boots on that aren't doing him any good. But he has been so gracious to help us within this, because obviously we need a pastor who's able to baptize, and he preaches at Zion Lutheran Church in Fairbanks. So we've gotten to know him pretty well over the last few years, and he takes the time to, from a pastoral role, explain the significance of baptisms. And when he comes in on whatever day that we have our baptisms on, he takes that time, spends it with the kids. And then also for those who have been previously baptized, a lot of times they want to experience that again, which is beautiful and wonderful. However, we do believe in one baptism for the remission of sins. So what he does is he takes the opportunity to give them a blessing, to basically reemphasize what their baptism means to those individuals. And it's a really beautiful day. It's a wonderful thing to watch. For a lot of us, it's our favorite day, because it's just amazing to see these kids, really feel a strong connection with the Lord and want to embrace that. So yeah, the teens love to ask when the baptisms are going to happen, and every year I think it's their favorite part too, just to kind of, you just have a lot of emotions that day. A lot of us are crying.
And as you guys can probably tell, it happens in the lake that they love to swim and play in all throughout the other parts of the week.
Listen,
It's on duty to it.
exactly.
How warm is the water?
So I was just about to say this since Amy said that, but the temperatures at camp vary. More often than not, it's t-shirt weather, but that lake will never be a t-shirt weather. Like, it is always so frigid. It's got to be colder than the 50s. I mean, it's probably 30s, 40s. It's so cold. They don't care. That is warm for them, and you know what? That's great. That's great that they get to love that. For the rest of us, we're jumping in and waiting to get numb. So anyway,
Or get pushed in.
yeah, or get pushed in. But
Never have your phone on you if you're on.
but anyway, those are how we handle baptisms and blessings, which is, again, just a very big moment for a lot of these kids. And they get their certification or their baptism certificate after the fact. And we had Sodi, who was on our previous slide. He brought his certificate back with him one year. He said, "Look, I was baptized." And so anyway, big moments for everyone. But
So, As you can see, there's a lot of moving pieces that happen a lot of times during teen camp. I mean, we have kids coming from 6, 7 different villages each year, and sometimes our flights just don't coordinate. So a lot of our teens are from the northwestern region, and instead of getting commercial flights to fly them from like Deering to Kotzebue to Anchorage back to Fairbanks, we work with an agency called MARC to help have a charter flight from that region, the Nana region, back to Fairbanks. That does mean that we have to have limited number of spots for our teens. And so kind of a funny story is we created a separate application specifically for the Nana region because we knew that only 9 kids could come from that area. And so we had it limited to 9, so as soon as it hit 9, link was no longer available. So we sent it out to all of our previous campers first to be like, hey, we want you guys to have first dibs at these spots. Within 2 days, all of our spots were full, and we saw names that we did not recognize. And we were like, we have no idea how these people got our application, but amazing. But that did mean, unfortunately, the guy in the green, his name is Storm, he messaged us and said that he was not able to do the application, and so he actually went and found the 2023 application and refilled out, and he was like, did you guys get, and we're like, Storm, we are so sorry, we have limited number of spots, but we will put you on a wait list. We never thought the wait list would actually happen. And so fast forward, his mom's messaging us, his sister is also coming to teen camp. So we're trying to figure out any way we can get Storm. His mom's messaging us like, hey, still any availability for Storm? And we're like, no, we can't. 2 days before teen camp, one of our teens message and says, hey, actually, after teen camp, I'm going to Anchorage. And we're like, amazing. Like, okay, we'll help you figure out that flight. And then we had another kid say that, hey, I'm actually coming from Anchorage to teen camp. That means that we have an extra spot on both the flight there and back. We already have an application for Storm. Put him on the flight. So I think it's just amazing like how God's timing worked, because if he hadn't gone back and filled out that 2023 application, we wouldn't have had any of his information. It would not have been that quick turnaround. We were already in connection with his mom because of this, and so she easily was like, yep, can get the bag packed, get him on the plane, we're good. And funny enough, we found out at teen camp the reason that all those random people got the application was because his sister had put it on Facebook. And we're like, Serena, maybe next time make sure Storm has filled out the application before you share it. But that's just one story. There are so many more behind the details, but it truly shows God's timing. And if going back to the next slide, or going back a slide, Storm actually did get baptized at teen camp this past year. And so it was just a full circle moment as well. And he truly was one of our favorite teens at teen camp. We don't have favorites, but if we did, he is definitely up there.
Oh, it is me. Yeah. So for this slide, you guys will see 2 pictures side by side. So this goes back to the idea we talked about earlier, where a lot of times the kids from Bible school end up going through Bible school, they start to grow up on us, and then they have the opportunity of teen camp where they can have this really cool opportunity more geared towards the teens. So if you guys see the picture on the left, that is in 2015. That was my very first year ever visiting Arctic Village through our church's VBS mission trip. And that picture is me with 3 kids piled on top of me. It's Edward, Isaias, and Jaslyn. Now, if you look at the next picture, those are those same kids, but now, of course, they're teens now. And all 3 of them were able to come to teen camp this year. And so we had to recreate the photo. But this idea of The before pick when we've known them since they were little bitty things to when now they're, grown teenagers and coming to teen camp. That's not unique to this 3 kids. That's in all the different villages throughout all the different years. We could have recreated and put up on the board like several other photos where that you can see that transition from when we met them in the village to them coming to teen camp now. But it's such a special part because we get to be a part of these kids' life for years, and it's really special to see them grow.
Yeah, and also whenever we go back into the village from teen camp to VBS, you can really see how much of leadership position those kids take. So one of our kids that comes from Deering, his name is Lucas. He's 18. He is way too cool to come to VBS. He is there every day. He is there after. He is the leader of our tie-dye. We make sure every single kid in that village has a tie-dye t-shirt because of Lucas. I think that really shows as well. Oh, yeah, it's been.
So kind of building off the camp connections that we were talking about earlier, like I said, last year was my first year. So I really enjoyed that aspect and getting to know the kids personally. So I want to talk about 2 of the kids that were in my cabin, Cody and Avery. So Avery's there on the left side of the screen with the headphones. They both had like an item that they loved, and so for Avery it was the headphones, and for Cody it was that red hoodie that he's wearing with the hood on. And I think that kind of shows they were both a little, I think, nervous and shy coming into camp, even though they had previous relationships with the counselors from their villages. In my cabin, I had some of the brothers, and I had kids that already knew each other really well, and so I think Cody and Avery kind of bonded with each other because they were sort of the smaller, quieter kids, but I really enjoyed, throughout the week getting to see them open up, especially at devotions. We give a Bible to all the kids when they come to camp, and the first day you might not see them open it, but then by the end of the week they're fully engaged in whatever we're talking about, singing the songs. We always try to get them to stand up and sing songs, and nobody ever wants to do that, especially when you're singing in front of the other teens that you're around. But you really do build these relationships throughout the week, and it's incredible. We let Cody try Cheerwine from North Carolina. We were like, you have to know what we love.
Did he like it or not?
I think he hated it. I don't think he liked it at all, and we were all a little confused, but
Hard taste, I think.
for sure. So
It was also at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
that you tried that.
yeah, so maybe it'll grow on him. Maybe give him another one next year. But yeah, that was my favorite part for sure, and it's what's making me want to go back this year. And as many years as I can is you really get to see these kids grow throughout just the span of 1 week. So I can't imagine what it's like over a full decade, like everybody else has talked about. You want to talk about the fair?
Yeah, and so for that middle picture, you'll see a button with a lot of people crammed in that one picture. So to give a little context to that, at the end of teen camp, it just so happened to be the Alaska State Fair in Fairbanks. So after everything was wrapped up in teen camp, we got to spend a couple extra days enjoying that state fair. And one thing to know is that everyone and their mama tries to come to the state fair if they can get a chance. So a lot of people fly in from the villages, and so it was such a really cool opportunity because we got to see a lot of faces that we didn't get to see at teen camp this year. So there's several people, I know it's kind of hard to see because there's a lot of people in there, but several people that were at teen camp are in that picture, but also past campers that weren't able to join us this year that we still got to see, spend some time with, make that connection, and kind of catch up with them. So it was a really cool time to see not only our past teen camp faces, but also everyone from the village too that was just visiting Fairbanks too. It's a really cool opportunity.
Yeah. Hold off for a second. So every single year we always do a talent show at the end of teen camp just to kind of like incentivize the kids to share their talents or just be goofy, honestly. And so sometimes we just sign kids up without a plan. We're like, hey, Avery, you're going to do something for a talent show, right? And they'll be like, sure, I can find something, which is exactly the like ideas that we want kids to come up with. But this year, kind of going back to the slide Amy shared at the beginning with the map, is a lot of kids wanted to share their culture with us this year. And so we had a lot of kids that taught us the dances, and so we'll show one of those. And a lot of times the dances are representative of maybe, I think this one was called like the bow and arrow. And so it's just movements that they would do in their culture, and it was really cool. We would practice it in the cabins at night and have it ready for the talent show. So that was a very unique aspect, which we have done in the past, but I feel like this year we really felt as well. Yeah, so that was just a little clip, and then
So with those group of who was that? It was Helena and Ray. So with those group of girls, when they were practicing those dances, they're from more of the Northwest villages. So the Inupiaq group. Now this video is going to be more for our interior villages, and so more of the Gwich'in people. So as I mentioned before, like different native groups throughout Alaska. And so this dance that we will show is they love to jig. That's the name of the dance. There's bunch of different jigs, but a lot of times they have a lot of like community gatherings and just love to spend time with each other, and they're always gonna jig whenever that happens. So it was a really cool thing that a lot of them were willing to share and participate in.
Okay, so all of these pieces only come together through the help of all our supporters and all of our volunteers. The three of us, Becca, Amy, and I, we do this on top of our full-time jobs, and that's a blessing that we have, but we do need as much help as possible. And so thankfully we have a great crew of volunteers who actually this year looks like more returners than newbies, which is awesome, but that's not always the case every year. So there's, lots of logistics that go into teen camp, obviously. I mean, you heard about the flights and how complicated that can be. Meal prep, we have Kurt and Sandra, we call them Captain Kurt and Grandma Sandra, and they've been our wonderful cooks these last years, and actually you can see Sandra pictured here. It looks like this will be their last year, which is hard, but very bittersweet. We are so grateful for the time they've given us, but it is an opportunity for someone else to step into that role. So between all of that, scheduling each day, we if you're looking for professional camp, this may not be it, but we do our best to go by our schedule. And usually once we get to breakfast, life becomes much more interesting as the day goes on, and schedules become sort of moot, but whatever. However, a lot of this we basically, when camp ends, we've already started planning for the next year, and I think that's probably true for every Alaska Mission program that we have here, but that's definitely true for us because we do have so many people from all over. She mentioned North Dakota, we've had people from Texas, Arizona, I already said Texas. Anyway, all over the board, right? So we do have regular meetings once a month we do a Zoom meeting with everyone just to make sure we're all on the same page. Here's what progress we've made. Here's what we're looking forward to, etc. So a big piece of that is just being able to rely on the year-round commitment that we have from our volunteers. A little easier said than done at times, but again, it's just tricky when you've got people in a lot of different time zones. So that's a big part of the planning and all of that, but we really do have to make a lot of last-minute adjustments, which is why we put this in the slide. But this really speaks to God's timing as a whole, something that we've reiterated time and time again. We may not be able to figure out how something's going to work, but we can trust that it will. And that's something that has been proven year after year after year. And I will say this as well before I pass it on to the next person. We may be a part of the short-term mission team, but the work that we have been participating in has long-lasting effects, as you've seen based on our entire presentation. So you all being here and just being, listening to our story, listening to the story of these teens, and being willing people to pray for us and be a part of this journey for us, that means the world. So that said, yeah. So as far as ways to help, we have several different options. Obviously prayer, because where would we be without it? We have our fundraising options. So like I kind of mentioned earlier, a lot of our volunteers are responsible for getting themselves to and from Alaska. Once they're there, we take care of the rest. But they are responsible for getting their flights and all of those things. As for us, we also have to tackle those issues. And so we try to do as many fundraising opportunities as possible throughout the year. And like I said before, we did a bake sale last year.
We've got a couple fundraisers in the queue for this coming teen camp too, so be on the lookout for those.
Yeah. Small plug. And then we also have, which is a big one, sponsoring a teen. So I know I mentioned earlier about how it costs roughly $1,000 per teen. You have the option to play a role in that. You can either sponsor a full teen, or you could do a half sponsorship, really any kind of sponsorship. But that is a really big one that I know that we've had a lot of people help with before, like churches from all over. When they hear about what's going on, they're like, oh, we would love to sponsor a teen and be a part of that. And so that's just a really sweet opportunity to open that door for more kids in the future. So those are big ways to help. We can give more specific details at the end if you would like to come up and ask questions or raise your hand, whatever floats your boat. But that's all I have to say about that.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh no. And we do get tired after keeping it.
They think they're funny. They think they're funny. Anyway.
Do y'all know how many people Pastor Johnson had baptized up there over the years at teen camp? It's probably in the 20s or 30s.
Yeah. I know this last year we had a really large group that got baptized. The year before that too.
Yeah.
But I mean,
We could probably go back and we could probably count the tally. If
We have the record, so.
We do have the
They're in
records.
my basement.
Was that a tricky thing, like if they wanted to get baptized again and again, like kind of explaining that it doesn't work that way? Was it hard to get them to understand?
I don't know that it was really hard to get them to understand. I think it was more or less just being able to have that conversation to begin with. Because, we can express it in the first time, this is one baptism for the remission of sins, but because they have experienced how amazing that opportunity is and want to feel that way again, it's been a year since they've had it. And so Pastor Carlson being able to kind of talk through that and be willing to provide a blessing to reinforce that memory, I think that's just, I think they understand it pretty well at that point.
I think the main thing is they just want to show,
Right.
Yeah.
and the blessing helps with that
Yeah.
because Pastor Carlson walks through a whole part, including the water. He just has them make the sign of the cross and talks through a little bit more. So I think that really helps them with that too.
Is he there every day or just the one?
No, he just comes for the baptisms.
He's probably busy with church.
Yeah, he keeps pretty busy, but he's always super willing to help, and we do have a lot of support within and around Fairbanks as well. Just again from years of going and working and all those things, but
And he always sends, like Heather mentioned earlier, the baptism certificates. He takes the time to make one and send it out to them. So he's very intentional with the baptisms.
I had another question. So the major expense is probably the flights, right?
it's a
Mark-
big chunk.
Does the group march, they give you like a discount or like the way to?
They have in the past, yes.
Yeah, so we have kids coming from a variety of different areas. This year, we actually had a lot of kids come from the Fairbanks area, so that kind of helps cut off the plane costs. But the Mark flights, they do work with us because they know we're a camp. They give us like a percentage off for being a camp. And then also sometimes they do like cargo loads as well if they're going to those areas anyways. So they won't charge us whenever they're lugging the cargo, even though like we have kids on the flight. So they're very generous whenever it comes to that way. And then the rest of the flights we just use Wright Air, which is located out of Fairbanks. So that is the majority of our expenses.
Because they're mostly commercial flights, but Mark is like a charter flight service.
Yeah, and that's actually a picture of us at the terminal that they use. So with our lucky 9 kids, we just hang out until the flight. Yeah, because it's Alaska time. You never know when things are going to take off, land. Gotta be ready.
Mom? Yeah, isn't the Mark group, are they not like a mission group themselves? So they're not in it for profit per se?
Correct, yeah. It's mostly just to cover the fuel costs. They try to get us the best discount they can.
It stands for Mission Aviation Repair Center.
I'm glad you knew what it stood for because I knew mission.
Yeah, and it's a C, not a K. So
Yeah.
Mission Aviation Repair Center.
Yeah. Any other questions? I think we're almost right at time, so if not, Heather will pray us out.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Dear Lord, thank you so much for bringing us all here today and giving us the opportunity to talk about how you are working in the hearts of these teens and how we're a small part of that, and just for giving all these folks the opportunity to learn more about you and how you're working in this environment. And God, I pray that you make the most out of this next summer and all of those to come, and that we are able to continue to provide these services for these kids, and just for everyone here too to, really embrace you today during church and listen to your word. And God, I just pray that you make the most out of every moment for all of us. And in your name we pray, amen.